Hey there guys, TC Made with TC Gaming. I have another animation tutorial for you tonight. We're going to be covering bringing in third-party packages that have embedded animations in them, how to separate those out, and then how to take that rigged character, get it out to Mixamo, and pull in additional animations. And we might even do a little bit with the animation blueprint to get that thing running around just like your third-party character in here, or third-person character rather. So what I did is I started a brand new project, just a regular old third-person example, blueprint only, and you get the thing in here with starter content, default setup. This is fresh out of the box. So the project that I'm working on, not the one we're talking about here, but the project that I'm working on, I'm actually using this 3DRT Crazy Rabbits pack of low poly 3D models, these cartoon crazy rabbits. And what a lot of these models will do for you is they'll actually have an entire animation sequence embedded in the file, and they'll tell you the list of all the animations that are in there. So what happens is if you download these and expand them, you might end up with a package that looks similar to this, where you have a bunch of different files in here and a couple of FBXs and so on and so forth. And you're like, what do I do with all this stuff? Well, in Unreal Engine, you of course can bring these FBX files in and then work with them. So I'm going to show you a couple different things about this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my package here and I'm going to look for the first FBX file that I find in that list, so cr01animfbx.fbx. And in my project, I would go in here and create a new folder, which I typically do, and I'm just going to call this, I'll call it the rabbit. And underneath of the rabbit folder, I would right click, new folder, and do animations. And then I'll go back to my rabbit folder here. And what I'm going to do is open up that file, that cr01animfbx, and I'm just going to pull that into the browser, minimize this, and it should pop up a window, show me all the different things that I can do with this. So what I'm going to do to show you a couple different things about this is I'm going to leave on skeletal mesh, import mesh. I'm going to do import animations based on their exported time from whatever program they came from. I'm going to convert the scene unit and convert the scene. And I'm going to leave all these other settings in here as default and just say import all. And now watch what happens when we do this. It basically will pull in the default setup for this rabbit. And I'll show you, this only takes a second for this to load up, but it's actually importing the animation tracks right now. You can see all the things that it's pairing up. And when it gets everything in here, it should create some files for us. Once it gets loaded, there you go. And it's just going to give us a warning here saying the following bones are missing from the bind pose, which we're okay with. So I'm just going to close that. I don't really care. And if I look at my character here, I can double click on this and I can see that I have my character. Okay. So he pulled in, brought one of the materials with it, one of the meshes and the materials, and created a new material for it. And basically, if I go and I look at this anim file, you can see that it's actually doing the animation. And if you look at how big this is, look at the length of this animation file. So this does all of the animations in one overall package. Okay. Now, how do we work with that? Well, there's probably a way that I'm unaware of where you could go in and say, well, I only want to play this range for this thing and this range for that thing. You might be able to do it with animation montages. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten that far into it. But what I am going to show you is how to use the information from the file if it's provided, or even if you had to sit down and figure this out to say, okay, well, this many frames does this thing. This is walking. This is running. So you could go through and figure it out. But if it's provided for you, here's how we would probably want to at least initially try to work with that. So I'm going to go back out here, and what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to take, and we'll just start over. I'll show you what I would have done the first time I brought all this in. So let me delete these, tell it to force delete and just get rid of them. So here's what I would do. I would take that file, and the first time that I bring it in, I would go in here and uncheck the import animations thing. I'm not going to bring any animations, but I do want to create the skeletal mesh for this character. And again, convert scene and convert scene unit are on. I'm going to say import all. And it's going to bring that whole thing in. Again, I'm going to get that first error, no big deal. And now I have just the character without all of the animation sequences and everything on there. Basically, I have a skeletal mesh that I can now apply animations to. So now I'm going to go into the animations folder. I'm going to go back out and grab a hold of that FBX, and I'm going to pull that FBX file in again. And this time, what we want to do is we want to specify a particular asset for the skeleton, and we're going to use our CR01 anim FBX skeleton and tell it that we don't want to import the mesh, and we want to specify a frame import range. So in this one, it's min 10 and 40 max, which we get from our file out here. 10 and 40 is our walk01. So when we put those values in there, we want to scroll down and also select, make sure convert scene unit is on and convert scene is on. When we say import all, it's only going to import frames 10 through 40, which are walk01. Okay, so you can see now I have a much smaller file here. And now what I would do is I would go over here and I would rename this walk_01. Now I'm going to go back out to my directory again, pull my file back in. I'm going to specify that I want to put that on that skeleton, take off the import mesh, and I'm going to change my ranges now to match the next animation I want to bring in. So if I wanted to bring walk02, I'd do 45 to 75. And so on and so forth. So for example, I'll do one here where he does let's see, a motion 01. So we'll do 2030 to 2130. So I put in over here 2030, and my max is going to be 2130. Make sure all my other options are on and say import all. And so now I have the emotion 01 thing. Okay, and you get the idea. I should be able to go down through here and pick whatever animations I want and specify the range and pull those in. So like if I did 3010 to 3055, I'll go do it again. We'll go 3010. Let me close this here. We'll go 3010 to 3055. So if I pull that in. Oh, sorry. I got to rename this first. So this was emotion _01. If you don't rename it, what happens is it just does the same thing you did previously. So glad I made that mistake so you can see what that did. When you pull this in, you go in here and you specify your range. So our range again back in this list was 3010 to 3055, 3010 to 3055. Specify the skeleton that it's getting applied to. Tell it you don't want to import the mesh. Import all. We now should have our sit down animation. Okay. And again, you would want to bring these in. You can check them if you want to. Bring them in. Give them the range that you want. And then give them whatever their name was. This one was called sit_down. So that's what we would name this. And then that way we have a reference for it. You could probably even, if you wanted to, you could type in that that's called sit_down and then put the range number on it from the file. So you could say 3010, 3010, 3055 sit down. Just give it a name like that so you know from the file which one you got. That's up to you. Whatever makes it easier for you. But the general idea is that you should be able to go in there and pull those files in from a third-party source like that and basically get, whatever you need there. Okay, so the next part of what we can do with this is now that we've pulled in some of our animations and everything, and we want to get maybe more animations that weren't covered in this whole pile here. We want to take this out to Mixamo. So we have our file over here, which is our CR01 anim FBX. I'm just going to copy the path to that from my directory. I would go out here to Mixamo. I would log in and say upload character. And I'm going to say select character file. I would go ahead and give it my path. That's going to bring me in here to my CR01 anim FBX, and we would let that upload the character. And then what it does is it basically analyzes the bone structure of that character and maps it so that we can then apply additional animations to it from the Mixamo character pack, or the Mixamo animation packs rather, and apply them to that skeleton. and I'll show you what that should do. So basically, once this uploads and everything, it's going to give you a preview of what the rig should look like on the character. Takes a second to process. Apologize for the length of the time that this is all taking. It's a lot of stuff to cover, and I just want to make sure you get it. So it shows me now what my character looks like, and of course his eyes are closed. We'll deal with that in a minute. But if I think that everything looks pretty decent, which I do, I'm going to say next. And now it's going to give me that character, and I can just go over here and double click on an animation, and it'll apply it to that character. Okay, so now we have Samba dancing on CR01 Anim FBX. Okay, and I can go in here and I can look for pack, like I've done in previous videos. If you watch any of my other stuff, I could go say, let me get the whole entire locomotion pack. So if I apply that, it's going to put all those things on here. And I think there's a thing where you can toggle a follow camera so you can see what this guy's doing. Now, I will warn you, when you do some of these, you're going to lose the ability for root motion on some of these files, which basically means that if a character performs a function, an animation sequence where the character moves as part of that animation sequence, you're going to have to come up with some way to adjust where the game thinks the character is actually at, because the root didn't move with it. And sometimes it can create this rubber band snapback type of animation effect where the character does something and then gets pulled back to where he originally started at. But the point of this is you should be able to get these files for any of these onto your character. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a couple. Like here's a breakdancing sequence for this, right? And I'll show you just real quick what we can do with this. So I'll go ahead and I'll say download. And I'm going to download the FBX T-Pose format. And we don't need to worry about any of this here. I'll just say download. That's got like 34 animations on it, so it might take a second for it to come in. But while that's preparing and downloading, we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on over here. So what you can do is, once you have these animations all broken out and defined for your character, one of the other things that you can do, if you have an animation or a character that has multiple files like this in it, like this is the texture file, and it gives you the coloration and the eyeballs and all that kind of stuff. You could update these in other art programs, but in this particular pack they had multiple ones in here. So if I pulled another one in, for example, so here's my CR05. That's a slightly different look to that character. Let me go find one that's not pink like all the other ones were. Let's pull in like, we'll do a blue one. There you go, CR03. What I could do is I could take my CR03 file. I can right click on this and say create material. We'll just call it CR03 material. And then I could go over here to my character and I could specify that it's going to use that CR03 material. So when I went into, I think he was under here, somewhere in here it's telling it that's the material, CR Mat 1. I could now pick CR Mat 3 on here, and once it gets done processing that, this character will now be blue because I've applied a new material to him. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can change how your character looks if you want to have multiple versions of this thing. And your animations are applied to the skeleton, so now it's going to do that same thing to your blue character or whatever. And then you can use these a lot of different ways. If you want to see what those animations look like, you can actually just drag these characters right out into your level and just hit play, and they'll stand there and do their different animations. If you ever want a real quick way to see all the different things without going through the trouble of building the animation blueprint. So it just shows you what they look like when they're doing what they're doing. Just give you a rough idea. Let's go back over here and see if that file has processed yet. Breakdance pack is here, so I'm going to say show in folder. Let me minimize this out of the way. And here's breakdance pack, so I will say extract to breakdance pack. And that should dump that over here somewhere whenever it pulls up my editor. My machine's running really, really slow lately. But here's Breakdance Pack now. And I have all these different files that are assigned to that CR01 Anim FBX skeleton. So really I should be able to take, let's just grab like these first 3 footwork things here. I should be able to pull these into the animation sequence. And when I import them, I should be able to say, I want to put that on the CR01 Anim FBX skeleton. And on the animation length, I'm just going to say exported time for whatever they were out of the other program. And over here, I'm going to leave these default settings and say import all. If everything goes well, I should have footwork 1, 2, and 3 for breakdancing applied to the skeleton for my rabbit. And this will take a second to do this, but again, I'm just trying to show you how to get these different animations broken apart from a third-party asset, or how to get more animations for it if you have the FBX. I've shown things similar to this in other videos, but I had never run across a fully embedded animation sequence inside of the file before, so I kind of had to figure out how to break that apart to work with it for this other project I'm involved in right now. I'll show you a little bit of that maybe in another video, what I'm doing with that. It's basically a platformer game that's going to use this type of character. But so, for example, if I pull this guy out here, pull that guy out there, I think that's all of a minute. Might be the same one twice, I don't know. But you can see they're over there. Whoops. Got them on top of each other, or do I have 2 copies of each one? What's going on there? I don't know what I did. Maybe I drug it out. But anyway, there's footwork 3. Here's breakdance footwork 2. All right, you can see it's working on my little skeleton guy there. And here he is doing breakdance footwork 1. Now, the first thing you should notice is his eyes are closed. Well, how do you fix that? Well, what you can do is if you pull in each of these individual animations, so breakdance footwork 1, I'm just going to hit pause and take it all the way back to the first frame. I'm going to go in here and try and zoom in on this a little bit so I can see his face a little bit better. Not really 100% necessary. But over here in the skeleton tree, I'm going to go and look for his eyelids, upper and lower for each side. I'm going to grab his left eyelid and I'm going to take it, I'm going to open that up some. I'm going to take it up 40, let's say, and I'm going to say key and apply. Then I'm going to go to his left lower eyelid and I'm going to take that down a little bit. Take that down like say -30, key and apply. And so now I've got one of his eyes open. All right, so let's just hit play and see what he does. All right, so now he's got one eye. Creepy. So I'm pausing. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go and grab his right eyelid. Same thing. I'm going to take that down. I think we went down like 30. And his upper eyelid. And sorry, back where when I'm on here, I'm going to hit key and apply. Go and grab this other eyelid, and I'm going to stretch that up. Looks like it's about the same. Key and apply. Save this, and let's just hit play. And let's click off of his face there. So there he is with his eyes open, and he's doing his breakdance sequence for footwork 1. So if I go, let's delete these guys here. It's really strange how it brought all that in there. I must have grabbed it a couple times. So I'm going to bring out breakdance footwork 1, and when we hit play, what we should see is our character breakdancing with his eyes open. Okay, and you could even put in there in that sequence, you could put a blink, you know, in the middle of it or whatever. But basically, when you're making changes to these, you just get them where you want them, and then hit key and apply, and it'll take and put that bone in whatever pose you had it at that frame and mark it. So, for example, if I came over here and like I wanted his ears to maybe be down a little bit, you go through here and he has probably got ears listed somewhere. You just click on the tip of his ear. It's saying head, ponytail. I don't know, you would think that his ears would be individual. Maybe not, though. What's his head? That's his whole head. So you can move that around. Put that back at 0. don't know what they're calling ponytail. Oh, all right. So his ears are ponytails to this thing. So key, apply. There's probably a breaks it off into a tip and maybe a center joint. Ponytail 2. We can move that around a little bit. Key and apply. Move this one around a little bit. Key and apply. And what should happen? Let's see. I don't know. Maybe it might leave them down that way. I might have to tweak what I'm doing there a little bit, or maybe record new frames. But you can see I can move things around and lock them in there. Okay. So you can play with that kind of stuff. But basically, I just want to give you that rundown on how to import a file from a third party, break out the animation sequences, and then be able to utilize those to see what's going on in the game, and then pull in additional resources. The other thing that we wanted to talk about real quick is if you look at most of your characters, like your animation for the mannequin, this has a third person animation blueprint. And if you go into the anim graph portion of that, there's an event graph and there's an anim graph. If you go into the anim graph has a state machine that has different sequences in here. So once you get the animations for this to happen, you can go fix them in the anim graph. So if we had a rabbit jump start and a rabbit jump loop and a rabbit jump stop and all that stuff, we could fix these as well. And I'll show you how to do that in a different video, but I think you'll probably be able to figure it out with just what I showed you in here as far as being able to break down the different animation sequences from a character, or find ones that work out here to put on your characters for use in the game. Again, my name's TC Mabe, TC Gaming. I know that was a little bit lengthy and a lot of stuff to cover. Hopefully you were able to glean something from it. Again, I am not a professional educator. I do not work for Unreal Engine or Epic, and I'm not affiliated with anybody who's selling animation resources or Mixamo. So hopefully you learned something from this. I'm just a person like you trying to navigate my way through game creation using Unreal Engine. Thanks for watching. Have a great night. And if you like what you see, subscribe, follow, and I'll try and put out more when I can. Have a great day.